Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm glad you were able to find it. So today we're building a butcher block countertop. It's a quick and easy method that I use. So when we first start doing this butcher block, we start with always use rough sawn lumber. It allows me to get it flat, and it costs a little bit less, and allows me the control of what I need. So first thing we're going to start by doing here is we're just cutting the board to length. I'm actually making all these pieces one length and not seaming anything. It's only a little under 6 foot top. Makes it a lot easier. Here's our boards that are ready to go for the joiner. I've cut them all up. Rough cut them to length. They're oversized obviously, but they will be run to the joiner. Now we're at the joiner. Here we go. So we are flattening our boards. And I run this one through, and then I realize probably should have started the other way. You generally want to keep the two high ends down at the end, and I will notice this right now. I can see that it's up, so now you flip the guy over, and here we go. We're going to flatten it off. You want it to start hitting at the front edge and the back edge first. It's the easiest way to get them flat. Quicker. You can get them flat the other way, it just takes a little bit more work, and you got to be a little more careful. So I will take probably 2 passes to get this fairly flat. You don't have to have them exactly flat and clean in one pass or 2 passes when you take it off the joiner. You just need to get the twist out of the board and keep it from rocking when it goes through the planer, because the planer will make it parallel for you. And then I generally, I'll run an edge, get the edge straight. You don't have to do this at this step. I just do it because it saves me time and not having to come back to the joiner with the boards after I run them through the planer. So I'm just straightening up this one edge right now, and it should be good to go in a second here. All done and ready to go. Alright, here we are at our planer, and we will take our boards and run them through. This will help us to flatten them off. Get them parallel. Actually, they're already flat. The joiner, that's a joiner's job. The planer just makes them parallel and equal thickness. This is exciting as the boards pass through here to get them down to thickness. I generally get them down to about, these are 4/4 boards to start with. I generally get them down to around about 7/8 I can usually get out of a 4/4 board. Some of them end up a little bit thinner, and I just mix them into the countertop, and they're not really noticeable. Sometimes there's 13/16 or so. It's a random width and length top, and it looks great either way. You can't really see them. I just try to do it that way because sometimes the boards just have too much twist in them to get them as thick as you'd like, and then you don't waste your wood. Alright, here we are. We're at the table saw. We are going to rip these boards down. They will be ripped in this one for 1 3/4 because my finished top is going to be 1 1/2 when it's all said and done. On a short top like this, I'll do them 1 3/4. Longer top, I will do a 2-inch thick starting point here, and we'll go from there. It just gives you more room to get it planed down the thickness, because things shift over length, and it's just a lot easier to go that way. Alright, well, we've got one more board here. We're going to rip it down and get our 1 3/4 inch strips. Okay, off to the bench. So now we've got our strips made, and what we are going to do now is we are going to organize them and kind of create a pattern We want to mix things up randomly. We don't want the same colors next to each other as much as we can do that. Try to give it different textures and colors. Just go through them and just kind of shift them all around to get where we want. This countertop will be glued up starting in 2 halves. This will be one half of it, and the other half will be done after this one, obviously. So all I do is I just stack them all up, kind of look at the color, see what I like, see how I want it, mix them all up, and it just kind of makes it a little more unique and cleaner looking. So I've got them all stacked up here, and I will try to keep the darker ones away from the lighter ones, and I don't want everything to be the same exact color. And we got it, here we go. Now, ready to glue up. So we're going to start our glue up here. To put the glue on, I just dump it out of the bottle. Sometimes I'll have smaller bottles, but I just generally dump it out of the bottle. It's just regular wood glue. Nothing fancy, nothing exciting. Hold it together wonderfully. You could use higher levels of glue. This is not necessary. There's no water getting involved in this top. It's just a top for just a cabinet in the corner. Anyway, the best way I have found over the years is just to use an ordinary 3/8 snap glue roller. This one's seen better days. It's glued a lot of pieces. This one here. I just smear it on. I'm going to double glue, which means I'm going to do both sides here. And by doing that, I just make sure I don't miss any spots, and it's probably not necessary, but just how I do it. So as this goes along here, we're going to get the glue on. Now I'll start stacking them, and I'll throw a coat of glue on the top here. There's enough glue on the roller, it doesn't have to be a super thick coat, but there's so much glue on that roller already, you don't necessarily have to glue every piece. I'll stack them up and keep this process going until I get the whole block glued up the way I want it to be, and it'll be done in a second here. Alright, now it's time for our last piece to be glued. It's our last surface. We will set it down flat, and we will line them up and start clamping away. Now, because there's so many pieces, the easiest way to do this is we're going to clamp from the top to make it a more secure block so the pieces aren't slipping everywhere. You want to be careful with the pipe clamps not to get it touching the glue, and especially on oak and stuff, you'll get black marks. It reacts with the tannins in the wood, the water, and the black pipe. But in this situation, it wouldn't matter anyway because it's going to get planed anyway, and it'll get taken out by the time it'll cut them out. They don't go that deep. They're pretty much surface marks. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock it up. It's very important. You want to put clamps over and under, and that keeps everything flat. The top one will bow it up a little bit, and then when you put the lower one on, it'll cancel out your bow and it'll keep it pretty flat. Obviously it's going to go through the joint and the planer again, but the flatter you can make it at this point, it just makes everything a lot easier, and you'll end up with a thicker piece of wood when you do it. And honestly, this butcher block is just a oversized cutting board, the easiest way to say it. And here we are with all our clamps. I use a lot of clamps. I probably have 10 on this one. I can't count them. 8, 10. Yeah, probably 7, 8, 9, 10. I just always use a lot of clamps, and I like my pipe clamps best. I think they do a great job for me. They're quick and easy to use, and that's how I generally do most of these. And here we are with a finished up block here. Looks like I ended up putting an F-style clamp on there. Must be something that need to be pulled up. Alright, here's our 2 blocks out of the clamps and ready to go on to the next step. And our next step for these will be running them over the joint and getting flattening. They are flat. There's usually not a twist, and this is not necessarily a step that needs to be done, but I do it most of the time. Generally, if you just run it through the planer after this, you don't need to flatten these off, but I will flatten these on this situation. It will make them perfectly flat when it goes through the planer. And as you refine the surface, you'll get the boards will have slipped a little bit, and they're not perfectly flat, and the joiner and planer will make them perfectly flat. They don't have to be perfectly flat coming off the joiner. There can be ridges and stuff, and they'll be taken out with the planer as you go through. Alright, here we go. We're going to run them through the planer now that we've flattened them off on the joint. And this will make the top perfectly smooth and even. Take the ridges out. Take any burn marks out from the table saw. Clean it right up. This planer is a helical head. It does a great job. No tear out. Does it pretty quick. As you can see, the board is coming off. See how clean it's cut, how smooth, and you can see the variations of color in each board that's coming through there. It's really, this is going to be a beautiful top when it's done. Here comes our other half. You see a knot there. Generally that'll be on the bottom side. I just hide the knots underneath that knot. One that likes to have knots in anything. I generally work around them or cut them out. Alright, so here's our top ready to go. We're going to have to joint the edge now. And what I'm going to do here is I've lined it up the way I want to do it. And now I'm going to mark an F and an M at the end. So that tells me one of them goes against the fence, the F side, and the other one is me. So that means that the M is me, so that tells me which way to run it through the joiner. Because what it allows me to do is it allows me to cancel out the drift, or if the fence is a hair out of square, which is probably not, and it probably is redundant and not even needed in this situation. But I do it anyway, just in case. So run one quick pass over that, straighten it out, flatten it off, flip the other board around to the proper dimension. This one's got to be the me side, I would guess. And we're going to joint this up right now. As it goes through the machine, it will be perfectly straight, and it will be it'll help it keep it perfectly flat when we put it together. Now I'm adding biscuits into this top. I don't always do this, and I probably didn't need to do it on a short top like this. Just for alignment. Doesn't make it any stronger, but it just makes it go together a little quicker and a little easier. One thing I definitely do want to do, and I've got the auxiliary fence on the mellow machine, you don't want to get them too close to the top because you can actually get dimples in the wood over time, and if you got to put them down at least halfway down and even closer to the bottom generally to make sure that doesn't happen. That's the important part there. So we've got that done, and now we'll do the other side. And again, these are not necessarily needed on this top. It would line up with itself. I'm just more doing this for the video. In most cases, I wouldn't even bother. It's just one seam. It's going to slip a little bit, but it's going to get run through the wide belt sander, so it's not a big deal. You'll take it off either way and get it flat. Alright, so now we're ready to glue our seam. You can see our biscuit slots are in there. We'll throw a little bit of glue on here, roll it out. And one piece of advice I would say is to definitely always, whatever alignment device you're using, whether it be a biscuit, dowel, domino, whatever else you come up with, always put it to one side, because if you put them on both sides, inevitably you're going to put the wrong fastener in the wrong hole, and then you're going to be scrambling to get it out so you can put the top together, or whatever you're gluing up. It doesn't have to be a top per se. So as you will see in a second here, after I get this glue rolled out, I will be installing the biscuits one side. And here we go here. See, doesn't matter which side you do it, just keep it the same side. So all 4 of these biscuits will go in the one taller side. I could also put them in the shorter side. It wouldn't matter at all. So now we set them down. Like so. And that'll allow us to glue them up. Again, we're going to use pipe clamps to glue this together. What I don't know if you can see, I do use scrap pieces of wood on the outside of them to keep the clamps from damaging the wood as I apply clamp pressure. You can get pads for the clamps, but I just find they always fall off and they're kind of a pain. So what I'm going to do here is I'll slide this off the bench so it's hanging over so I can slip the clamp underneath it. On this situation, because there's not so many pieces to slip around, there's only one joint, it's not a big deal to do it this way and get the clamps on underneath. Sometimes I'll set the clamps on the bench first and then drop the blank onto the clamp and then tighten it up. Just didn't do it this way. And now you can see our glue is starting to spooge out on the end there, because that's where I got pressure. And we will be getting another clamp, and doing so we will be able to pretty much pull the whole joint together with 2 clamps. I probably could just put 2 clamps on it, but I'm a type of person that likes my clamps. I have a lot of clamps. I use a lot of clamps. And I'll probably have, I don't know, 8 or 10 clamps on this. It's unnecessary, but I feel better that way. It gives me good results. Always better to have a few more clamps and put a little more time into it than have to go back and fix anything. I don't generally get joints that are not perfectly tight. And you can see as I tighten this joint up, the glue is starting to spooge out all the way down there. And then I will start putting clamps, and here we are with the rest of the clamps on there. I've gone over and under. I generally at this point try to keep the clamps off of the glue. As you can see, it's up on the top. This is the top, obviously. The bottom, it doesn't matter as much. The bar clamps will stain the oak, and you'll get a black mark, which can come out, but obviously I try to avoid that. And here's our clamped up blank, and I'm showing you here how flat it is, and I've got no fancy devices or anything else, just pipe clamps over and under. Now since that's dry, we will run it through the wide belt sander. I realize most people do not have a wide belt sander. I am fortunate enough to have purchased one many years ago, and this thing saves me. It's called a time saver, and believe me, it saves me a lot of time. I will probably total sanding in this top is 8 minutes, I would guess, between running it through the wide belt sander and hand sanding it. It'll take 3 or 4 passes through the wide belt sander. I'll swap the belt out, which takes me about 30 seconds. Throw a 150 belt on it, clean it up, and then it's ready for hand sanding. It's an amazing machine. I would highly recommend, if you have a shop around and it's got one of these things, just pay them a few bucks to run your stuff through it. It will save you so much time, and on top of that, it's going to give you results that you can't get by doing it by hand. There's just no way to keep, I don't care what sander you have, there's no way to keep it as flat and as nice as it is with using the wide belt sander. And here's the finished result of it coming off the wide belt sander. You can see how flat, and absolutely no tear out, which there wasn't any tear out in it to start with, because my planer doesn't tear out, but anyhow. So now we got to cut its size. Back to the sliding table saw real quick here. First we'll square it up here on the end. We're not going to take much off of this side. This is the more refined side. So we'll just quickly square it up here. And no problem. This table saw makes quick work of it and gives me clean cuts. You can see there's no burns on it anywhere. And this blade isn't even that sharp. It's been on there for a month or so. I have other blades and rotate them around and they go to sharpening and whatnot, but this blade is not perfectly new. And you can see I've got my stop set for the final dimension, and I just slide my piece and block up to that and it'll cut it right to the dimension. I think this one was 70 inches long. That was the stop was set at. Gives me a quick and easy cut. Doesn't take long at all. Alright, so now we're going to quickly run the router here. I have a bunch of routers and I keep bits like the 1/8 inch roundover bit that's on this one set up in the router all the time. It just saves me a lot of time in having to change out a router bit, and you have to fuss with getting it set to the right height. It's always set. It's good to go. Now I flipped it over. We're ready to router the top side here. And I believe I routed the end of it at some point. Quick routering here as we get toward the end of the construction of this piece, countertop. There we go, routed it up. Now we're just going to give it a quick hand sand. I like to use my pneumatic sander here. I like the positioning of my hand. It kind of feels like an extension of my hand. I have other sanders, but this is my favorite one. Running off the air compressor. Just do it that way. And quick and easy. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of sanding. There's light scratches left from the wide belt sander in here, very little. I just kind of scuff it up a little. It's more of a scuff sanding. I think there's 150 grit on this probably. And I'm not going to show the finishing process on this piece. I will tell you what I did. It's a floor finish, a water-based floor finish. It's a sanding sealer, and then on top of it I spray a top coat. It's not a catalyzed finish. It dries quickly. It works really well. I've had great results with it, amazingly. And I don't use oils. The reason I don't like the oils is they take too long to dry. This top I can spray it in the afternoon and it can be ready to deliver tomorrow. Takes 2 or 3 days for full cure, but it's dry and deliverable, and just tell the customer to be a little bit careful. It doesn't have an odor to it, and I know there's a lot of easier finishes for other people, but I spray everything, and that's just how I do it. Alrighty. So here is the finished top after I've sprayed it. It's got 2 coats of sealer and 2 coats of top coat on there, 320 grit sanding in between. You can see all the beautiful lines, and it came out really nice. There's some flecks from the quarter sawn edges, and there's some non-flecks, and it came out really nice, and the customer will be super happy with this. Thank you for watching my video, and I appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.